Zambian Parliament. Furthermore, Parliament TV and radio dedicate airtime to broadcasts of developmental, educational, and informative programs in order to contribute to well-informed citizenry that is central ingredient for a healthy and sustainable, stable democracy.
And Acting Clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia, Mr. Roy Nguluve, encouraged the public to actively follow the program series.
The program series, which is produced by the National Assembly of Zambia in partnership with the United Nations, is aimed at creating awareness about the SDGs in order to encourage radio listeners and TV viewers to be actively involved in the implementation of the goals and achievement of Agenda 2030. The SDGs are a universal plan for all countries to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all, amongst others. Hence, it is imperative for all stakeholders to be involved and contribute to the implementation of the goals in order to achieve sustainable development. You may wish to note, Madam Speaker, that apart from the mandate to broadcast the live parliamentary debates and committee meetings, the parliamentary broadcasting services are also responsible for informing the public on various important issues that affect their lives. It is therefore our hope and our trust that the SDGs program series that will have an interactive session with the public through phone-in services will contribute to having an informed citizenry.
Meanwhile, Acting Minister of Information and Media, who is also the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, Mr. Makozo Chikote, applauded the National Assembly of Zambia and United Nations for partnering in the production of the SDGs program series.
I take this opportunity to applaud the National Assembly of Zambia and the United Nations for partnering to produce this important program series, which is aimed at airing and raising awareness about the SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of the partnership in the implementation of the SDGs and the attainment of Agenda 2030 cannot be overemphasized. Zambia considers the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development as a national agenda. The country aspires to become a prosperous middle-income nation by year 2030.
And United Nations Resident Coordinator Ms. Beatrice Muntali, in a speech read on her behalf by the United Nations International Children Emergency Fund UNICEF country representative Ms. Penelope Campo, mentioned that it is hoped that the program series will inspire people to understand the global goals of the SDGs.
I'm happy to note that the 8th National Development Plan is 87% aligned to the SDGs, in other words, almost fully aligned, an indication of Zambia's commitment to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the same manner, as the United Nations, we've been supporting the country's development efforts, particularly the 8th National Development Plan and previous National Development Plans. And from January this year, we embarked on the implementation of the Zambia UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which is fully aligned to the 8th National Development Plan, to guide our support, the UN support, to Zambia for the period of 2023 to 2027. Attainment, however, of the SDGs has been impacted by several factors, including the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, the current debt situation, and climate change effects. An attainment of the SDGs requires concerted efforts by all stakeholders at individual and institutional levels. The SDGs are not a preserve of the government alone, neither are they for the private sector or civil society on their own. Making progress on the SDGs really requires our collective efforts and actions by everyone at all levels.
Speaking at the same event, All-Party Caucus on SDGs chairperson Dr. Christopher Kalila expressed his happiness that parliamentarians will have a platform to engage with the public on SDGs through Parliament radio and television.
Ourselves were very excited with the launch of this program because it provides a platform for members of Parliament to begin to interact directly with our citizens, to interact directly with civil society, to interact directly with our partners, and also generally to take in some of those calls, and also to showcase or highlight how, as members of Parliament, we are involved, of course, in a complementary law with our government. Madam, as a bridge between government and the people in the implementation of matters of sustainable development goals, we are, as a caucus, are therefore delighted at this initiative, and we look forward for more engagement with Parliament radio and television.
The launch of the SDGs program series on Parliament radio and television will enhance the achievement of a better and more sustainable future for all.
Local Nianu at DSTV. It laughs with Shumbi. Up close with Mutare Mwanza. It's Power TV. It's Mpali Season 6. And Goals Galore with Bola Yapazet. It's the very best of local entertainment. Stay connected from as low as 180 kwacha per month. Local Nianu at DSTV.
DSTV Nianu, your very best TV Nianu. Local Nianu, yeah.
DSTV, it's your moment.
This June, the stars of Zambezi Magic are perfectly aligned. It's a gamble for stardom on the all-new 10 Tamanga Street. Bold steps push Zuba to a league above all. Lindiwe plays puppet master as her devious plan unfolds. With the hope of reconciliation, Shimumbi returns to Rana Mumbi. Witness Uncle Imbani's hustle and bustle for the upper life. And get up close and personal with our favorite superstar, Mutale Mwanza. It's a date with the stars on Zambezi Magic. Channel 162 on DSTV and Channel 3 on GoTV.
You deserve an escape to paradise. Let's take you there with some of your favorite local content lined up on GoTV. GoTV. Be part of it. Live life. Mwamene ifunika kunkadila. GoTV. Niamoyo. Tamban mashows yonse from as low as 35 kwacha per GoTV and feel the best of local content. GoTV. Love it.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Television. Today is Wednesday, the 28th day in the month of June 2023. To be on live commentaries, my name is Posen Tendovi.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Matima Mkua, and of course, we are joined by our sign language interpreters, Jason Manda and Chola Kauma. We take a look at business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday, Tuesday, 27th June 2023.
Business did begin by Madam Speaker making an announcement, and in her announcement, she acquainted the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of Honorable Lesia Velansko, a member of Committee on Climate in the Parliament of Ukraine. And Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, did receive and warmly welcome the distinguished guests to the National Assembly of Zambia.
Thereafter, there was a ruling by Madam Speaker. She reminded the House that on Tuesday, 13th June 2023, when the House was considering question for oral answer number 284, and Honorable Mike E. Mposha, MP, Minister of Water Development and Sanitation, was responding to a supplementary question. Mr. Stephen Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu and Patriotic Front Party, we've raised a point of order as to whether the Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation was in order to insinuate that some houses were full of money without laying evidence on the table to substantiate his assertion.
And Madam Speaker informed the House that the point of order raised the issue of members' duty to ensure that the information he or she provides to the House was factual and verifiable. And Madam Speaker further informed the House that in order to render a measured ruling, she had recourse to the relevant verbatim record which ascertained that the Honourable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation did make the statement as alleged.
She stated that although members enjoyed freedom of speech and debate in the House, that freedom was not absolute as it was subject to the law and rules of the House, one such restraint being the requirement for members to debate factually. And so in rendering her ruling, Madam Speaker referred to Standing Order 65 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, which compelled members to debate factually, and the daily parliamentary debates of 17th June 2022, where she ruled on a similar matter and ruled that since the Honourable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation did not lay any evidence to support his assertion, that the Honourable Minister breached Standing Order 65 1B and was therefore out of order. She stated that she had noticed a tendency of members making unsubstantiated statements which had the potential to mislead the House and the public at large. She therefore reminded members to avoid making unsubstantiated statements in the House.
After that ruling that Madam Speaker made yesterday, the House did consider five matter of urgent public importance, and among those five, one was admitted, and this one came from Mr. Christopher Kangombe, who is Kampinsa Member of Parliament. It was on the shortage of fuel in Kitwe and surrounding areas, and Madam Speaker did direct the Minister of Energy to issue a statement on Thursday, 29th June 2023. After that, there were two ministerial statements that were rendered on the floor of the House. Matimba, details of those two ministerial statements.
The first one was rendered by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, who made a statement on the debt restructuring agreement between Zambia and official bilateral creditors and briefed the House on the features and benefits of the agreement to the country.
The other ministerial statement that was rendered on the floor of the House did come from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, who made a ministerial statement on the visit to Ukraine and Russia by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and briefed the House on the discussions during the visit. And we did see quite a number of members of Parliament posing follow-up questions, seeking clarity from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
The House went on to consider question for oral answer number 308 under Standing Order 76. The House also considered questions for oral answer number 309 to 313 under Standing Order 74.
There was a consideration of a report, and this report was moved, should I say the motion was moved by Mr. Kamboni, who is Kalomo Central Member of Parliament. He's also chairperson of the Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters, and at the time business was interrupted. It was Mr. Kasandwe, who is Bangwaulu Member of Parliament, who was debating. As you can see on the screens, that's Madam Speaker's procession making way to the chamber. We do have 4 questions for oral answer and 4 motions for today. For now, keep watching Parliament Television.
Honorable members of Parliament. Madam Speaker. Order. Order. Order.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, before I make the announcement, just to state that I'm disappointed with the Honorable Member for Petauke Central and the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa. They saw the procession coming in, but they continued talking until I reached this table to sit the desk. They were still talking until the national anthem. Please desist from such conduct because you are subject to be punished because you are in breach of the standing orders. Let's try to observe and comply with the standing orders. As the procession comes in, we should be in total silence and comply with the rules. Thank you. I have one announcement to make. Honorable members, I wish to acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of the following members of Portfolio Committee on Defense, Home Affairs and Security Services, and staff from the Parliament of Zimbabwe. The Honorable Brigadier General Retired Levi Maihola, MP, is the chairperson and leader of delegation. The Honorable Albert Ngulube, MP, member. Honorable Anna Rugani, MP, member. And Mr. Pencil Marunga, member of staff. I wish, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, to receive our distinguished guests and warmly welcome them in our midst. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Question for oral answer, Understanding Order 76. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask the question 314. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Member of Parliament for Petauke Central is asking, sorry, Madam Speaker, is asking the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation the following question. Under A, whether the government is aware that in the last 2 weeks there has been a critical shortage of water in the following areas of Petauke Central Parliamentary Constituency. 1, Anusa, 2, Showgrounds, 3, Tasala, 4, Garden Compound, 5, Chimate, 6, Kamfinzi, 7, Fairview, and 8, Chibisa Turnoff. And if so, what urgent measures are being taken to resolve the problem and avert waterborne diseases? Madam Speaker, in response to the question, I wish to inform this august House that A, government is aware that there has been a critical shortage of water in Petauke Central Parliamentary Constituency for the past 2 weeks in the following areas: Anusa, Showgrounds, Tasala, Chimate, Kamfinzi, Fairview, Garden Compound, and Chibisa Turnoff. Madam Speaker, under B, the House may wish to be informed that the ongoing water supply challenges in the named areas, and indeed the entire urban areas of Petauke district, is as a result of the long-standing issue of calcium blockages coupled with low production capacity. B, Madam Speaker, the following are the urgent measures being undertaken to improve water supply in the district. 1, Eastern Water Supply and Sanitation Company has organized 100 by 75 millimeter pipes. These are UPVC pipes for replacement during maintenance. Number 2, an addition of 10 general workers have been hired for a month, for a period of 1 month, to assist in resolving calcium blockages. Number 3, Madam Speaker, you may wish to note that out of the 8 areas reported, Eastern Water and Sanitation Company has been able to resolve and restore water supply to 5 areas, namely Turnoff, New Houses, parts of Chimate, Fairview, and Showground areas. Number 4, Eastern Water and Sanitation Company is currently working on the remaining parts of Showgrounds, Anusa, Garden Compound, and Fairview. And number 5, Madam Speaker, government has a long-term plan to address the water challenges caused by the built-up calcium or calcium concentrations in water, that is by migrating from the current groundwater source, which is full of calcium, to the surface water source. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. Again, this is a constituency-based question. We have a lot of work on the order paper. 2 motions, 1 report, 2 reports. So we shouldn't take too much time on these constituency-based questions. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Water. Minister of Water, my house is in Fairview, and
Order, Honorable Member, just remember that we don't debate ourselves. Don't debate yourself. Don't introduce yourself in the question. Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, Madam Honorable Banda stays in Fairview area, and every day.
Order, Honorable Member for Petauke, please do not debate other people who are not in the House or other honorable members. Just ask a supplementary question.
Okay. Minister, whatever you are saying, it's not true, because I've got information. All these areas which you are saying, we don't have water up to now. The people are suffering. Even now, you can see people are covering 40 kilometers just to go and get 20 liters of water. And then here you are telling us you have started working on the water contrary to what is on the ground. Are you aware that in Petauke Central, Minister, there are people and animals, we have got animals we use for farming, and there are people in those areas? I seek your answer, Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and I want to thank my brother, the MP for Petauke Central, for that question. Madam Speaker, I have provided answers based on our engagement as a ministry with our representatives. By this I mean our commercial utility in Eastern Province, who have informed us that they have been working the past 1 week on some parts of the affected areas. So for the MP to say that that is not true, the MP is being briefed. He's here in Lusaka, is being briefed by people on the ground, and I'm equally being briefed by people who are the experts who are resolving this problem. Now, Madam Speaker, I think it's important that as we ask questions, we are seeking solutions for our people and not just to cause drama. I think that I did my due diligence to engage our representatives on the ground who provided answers, and I have added that this problem has been ongoing for a long time, Madam Speaker, because the whole Petauke, particularly the part of the CBD, where Petauke Central constituency is, has a problem of calcium. And as this calcium builds up, it's blocking the pipes. And we are saying that resources allowing, we are already thinking of a long-term plan where we want to start abstracting water from the dam, which is about 12 kilometers from Petauke Central, about 15 kilometers. And this dam is called Lusowe Dam. And once we have resources in place, Madam Speaker, we are going to migrate from this ground source of water, which is full of calcium, and hopefully it can improve the water supply to the people of Petauke. But in the short term, our utility company is already on the ground to try and replace some of the pipes that are completely blocked. And once this is done, we hope that the water situation in the affected areas will improve. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister of Water Development. Madam Speaker, I'm privileged to have undertaken a study of the water situation in the country. And Eastern Province is one of the well-managed water utility companies. And I think it should be second after the Lusaka Water to become a commercial utility. Now, the question I have for the Honorable Minister is what is contained in your policy, especially with the case of Petauke, where we seem to be reacting to issues that emanate from a poor maintenance plan, as the case where Kausham is clogging the pipes. Do you have a plan for Petauke and any other towns, especially that you have a very good management in Eastern, which by now I expected that such problems should have been over? Do you have a plan to ensure that this is avoided in future and replicated in other water utility companies? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank Honorable Kambita for that follow-up question. Yes, Madam Speaker, we have a plan to address such challenges, but it must also be appreciated, Madam Speaker, that the quality of water varies in different from one place to the other. In Petauke, for example, we are talking about the problem of calcium which builds up and blocks the pipes. In other areas, we have problems of water, salt water, like in Mandi. In other areas, we have water which contains iron. So the quality of water varies from point to point. And here is a situation in Petauke where calcium has for some time been building up. And this is why we are saying that we cannot go on with a situation where we depend on groundwater source, which, as I have stated, has a lot of calcium in it, which is affecting our pipes. So in terms of maintenance, we can be replacing these pipes, but for as long as we depend on the groundwater source, these pipes again will be blocked in the long term. That's why we are saying that we have come up with a plan to move away from depending on the groundwater source to the surface water source, which is a dam called Lusowe. What remains of us is to find resources to put up a treatment plant and to lay a network of about 12 to 15 kilometers to bring water to Petauke district. So in terms of maintenance plans, each CU, as you know, Madam Speaker, my ministry has under it 10 commercial utilities covering the various provinces. So each one of them has a maintenance plan. But here in Eastern Province, particularly in Petauke, we have this problem of calcium, which cannot just be resolved by continuously replacing the pipes. So the replacement of the 100 pipes, the UPVC pipes I mentioned, is just an interim measure, but the long-term measure is what I've stated, that we need to migrate from that source of water, the groundwater source, to the surface water source. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, I think your people in the province are misleading you to cause you to do drama.
Oh, the Honorable Member for Petauke Central, ask a supplementary question. Do not accuse the Honorable Minister. Just ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, well guided. And I think if the minister can be also told, because he told me to say I do drama here by representing people, because these are the real things which are affecting my people.
Order, order. Honorable Member for Petauke, you've been duly guided. Please follow. Ask a supplementary question. Do not attack the minister. It's not correct to attack each other. Let's work in harmony with one another. Just ask a supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, other areas you have provided water bowsers as an emergency because you know water is life. What is failing your ministry to provide even a water bowser to the good people of Petauke as they are waiting for your ministry to work on those challenges which you are saying that it's in the pipeline? And you never answered my first question also, so I don't know how you can speak.
Honorable Member for Petauke, I don't know whether we are not, I'm not able to reach you. One question at a time. You ask the first question. You have asked your second question. Allow the Honorable Minister to answer you. The Honorable Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank Honorable Banda for the second question, the follow-up question. And in doing that, Madam Speaker, let me just correct what I said earlier, that we have 10 CUs. Instead, we have 11 CUs, but I meant to say that we have 11 commercial utilities covering all our 10 provinces. So I thought I should just correct that. Madam Speaker, the issue of the water bowser, Eastern Water and Sanitation Company currently doesn't have a water bowser. In areas where we notice that these areas are stressed areas in terms of water supply, and as and when the facilities are available or the equipment is available, the water bowser, we are able to provide. Unfortunately for Eastern Province, currently, Madam Speaker, we don't have a water bowser. Then secondly, the situation in Petauke is already being addressed as indicated in my answer. So for now, it doesn't require a water bowser because it will mean now getting a water bowser from another province when we have already started addressing the problem. What I would want to request the Member of Parliament is that if the situation persists in terms of not being resolved in good time, he can engage my office to ensure that we expedite the works that are being undertaken to address that problem. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think we have exhausted the question. Let's make progress. Question for oral answer under Standing Order 74, the Honorable Member for Mongu Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 315. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Mongu Central asks the question in two parts: whether the government has any plans to construct communication towers in Lialiu area in Mongu district, and in B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that in A, the mobile network coverage gap analysis recently conducted by the government indicated that 7 areas needed coverage in Mongu district. However, Lialiu was found to be well covered, and there was thus no plans to construct any communication tower in Lialiu area, as our coverage map shows that the area is sufficiently covered. Nevertheless, if there are any areas identified by the constituents office that are unserved and underserved, the government through ZICTA can undertake a focused assessment. In B, the House may wish to note that plans to construct communication towers are informed by findings of a gap analysis. This is followed by the government working with all the mobile operators, Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel, who may take up to install towers in selected economically viable needy areas. In the underserved and unserved areas, the government, through the Universal Access Service Fund, managed by ZICTA, installs towers as and when sufficient funds are available. In view of the response in Part A of the question, the Lialui of Mongu District is well covered. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Mongu Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to inform the Minister that the network in Lialui village is very erratic and His Majesty the King is not enjoying proper coverage of mobile cell phone. So, as such, I would like to ask the Minister whether he has any plan to revisit and examine that to ensure that His Majesty the King enjoys proper mobile net coverage. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Clearly, it's not our intention to inconvenience His Majesty the King. And if the reception is erratic, we'll dispatch engineers to check what corrective action should be taken so that the King can be able to connect with his people. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mongu Central, you were not following. I saw you chatting. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, a follow-up question to the Minister of Science and Technology. Minister, in your response to the Honorable Member for Mongu, you have reported to this August House that the gap analysis revealed that there is no need for an extra tower. And the feedback from the constituency is that there is need for another mobile tower to be provided. When do you intend, Honorable Minister, to send a team to go and do that focused assessment that will guide you on your next step? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you for that question. Clearly, from the Member of Parliament for Mongu Central, the issue is not so much a tower, but erratic supply of reception by mobile, which could be a need to look at our active equipment and make appropriate adjustment to the active equipment and not necessarily erecting a tower. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mongu Central. You have another question? Oh, so
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Minister has well answered the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Since the Honorable Member for Mongu Central is satisfied, I don't think we should flog a dead horse. We can make progress. If Honorable Members have specific questions relating to their particular constituencies, please do engage the Honorable Minister. He is always available to provide the necessary answers. But in the meantime, we have work to do. We proceed. The next question, the Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Madam Speaker, question number 316.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member for Kanchivia, Honorable Chanda, asked the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security the following questions. A, how many road traffic accidents were recorded on the Great North Road from Kapirimposhi to Nakonde from September 2021 to August 2022? And B, how many fatalities were recorded in the same period? Madam Speaker, in response to the questions, as by Honorable Chanda, I wish to inform the House that A, the total number of road traffic accidents recorded along the Great North Road between Kapirimposhi and Nakonde districts from September 2021 to August 2022 was 1,855, broken down as follows. Type of accident: fatal traffic accidents, 241. Number of persons involved, 324. Seriously injured, 393. Number of people involved, 767. 3. Slight injury road traffic accidents. Number of injuries, 337. Number of people involved, 521. Damages only to road traffic accidents, 884. Total number, 1,855. Out of this number, Madam Speaker, 241 were fatal traffic accidents in which 324 persons were killed. 393 were recorded as serious injury road traffic accidents in which 767 persons were seriously injured. 337 were recorded as slightly injury road traffic accidents, in which 521 persons were slightly injured, and 884 were recorded as damages only road traffic accidents. B, the total number of fatalities in the same period was 324. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kanchibia.
Madam Speaker, I thank you, and allow me to thank the Honorable Minister for Home Affairs and Internal Security for the statement that has been, or the response that has been given. Madam Speaker, this is a road that some of us get to use every time we're getting to our constituencies, and issues of safety become critical. I ask because I want to find out if there are plans by government to increase policing on this road. We have these foreign trucks, especially the foreign buses from Tanzania, and if you see how they speed on this road, Madam Speaker, it's alarming. So we wanted to find out if there are any immediate measures by government to increase policing on this particular stretch. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have put in a number of measures in order to control road traffic accidents along this particular road. Amongst the measures that were put in place is the sensitization to schools and marketplaces along the road that is Nakonde Kapirimposhi Road. We have also engaged in community radio stations, Madam Speaker, to educate members of the public pertaining to road traffic regulations. We have also enhanced motorized patrols along this particular route, Madam Speaker. We have also set up speed traps along this particular road. I know that members of the public complain pertaining to some of these measures we have taken to ensure that we reduce the number of road traffic accidents. We have also engaged in prosecuting those who are involved in these road traffic accidents. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Matero.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and Honorable Minister of Home Affairs. Over 200 fatalities, deaths in a year on that stretch from Kapiri to Nakonde is too high. I know, Honorable Minister, there is a law that prohibits trucks and buses from commuting along highways after 21 hours, but there's also an exception for trucks carrying perishables. And in the process, you find that most of these accidents are due to trucks or buses. Any consideration to think about repealing that law so that even perishable trucks, they are also bound by the 21 hours deadline, that no trucks whatsoever, be it on all the highways going to provinces, moves after 21 hours. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've taken note of the issue that has been raised by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Matero. The jurisdiction of managing road traffic management falls under the Ministry of Road Transport and Logistics. And that particular statutory instrument you are referring to was enacted by the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. I'll have a discussion with my colleague pertaining to that particular matter. We have received a lot of representations pertaining to this particular statutory instrument.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the statistics that you have given there, they are actually worrying. We cannot attribute the many accidents that we're seeing on this road due to the bad state of the road. But if you look at the road furniture, some of the road furnitures are either not visible or they've been vandalized. Honorable Minister, are you planning to engage your counterpart in the Ministry of Infrastructure through the RDA, if you can engage them so that they start replacing some of these road furniture? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my colleague may wish to know that government is rehabilitating this particular stretch of the road. And as we do the rehabilitation, road furniture is part of the infrastructure we are putting up on this particular road. We are also appealing to members of the public to stop vandalizing road furniture along this particular road and any other road in the country.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think as a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister would be whether we can see increased allocation towards speed humps or cameras, speed cameras, as well as introduction of speed reducers on this particular road. I think that would play a major role in bringing down the numbers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, road humps on an international highway is not the option. But I can assure my colleague that we are going to enhance speeding traps along this particular road to ensure that motorists who are fond of overspeeding are held accountable.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, if you look at your statistics, I don't know, you've not given us how many of those were the result of mechanical failure of the vehicles or human error. Madam Speaker, my point of clarification, this road from Serenge, let me just say from Serenge to Mpika, is in a deplorable, to Chinsali, is in a deplorable state. Most of these accidents happen because of sudden potholes that just appear from nowhere. You might be, this is a fact, we drive on that road. You know, you have potholes almost the entire stretch, and most of the accidents that you find is because of trucks suddenly going into those potholes. Does the government have any program to ensure that this stretch is attended to, especially when it comes to patching of these pothole or dilapidated sections. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, although that is now out of his ministry.
Madam Speaker, I want to state that it's not possible for a pothole to appear from nowhere. It's not possible. Madam Speaker, that was on a light note. But I want to inform my colleague that this particular stretch of the road is being rehabilitated. And my colleagues can confirm that substantial works have been done on this particular road. Currently, there's a contract on site, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chifubu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Chifubu an opportunity. Honorable Minister, the statistics that you have just furnished the House with, they are quite worrying and very unprecedented. My question is that, are you considering stiffening the law to who would be offenders on some of these traffic rules which lead to the committing of some of these crimes on the road? For example, we have situations where we have bad traffic, where we have bad trucks from traveling in the night. You'll find that there are some truck drivers who drive in the night because they have paid somebody and they are allowed to drive on the road. Others receive bribes here and there. Are you considering stiffening the law to these would-be offenders, at least to desist from committing these traffic offenses leading to these unprecedented statistics? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. Please ensure that your phones are on silent.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's my considered view that the law is adequate to punish those who are found wanting. Unfortunately, in most of the instances, Madam Speaker, the culprits may not be known as they are hit-and-run cases, or themselves, those who are involved in the road accidents, are the ones who have caused the road traffic accident.
Thank you. I think we have almost exhausted this question. We can make progress. First of all, may I welcome the Honorable Member for Usakile. We missed you. We last saw you when we were planting trees in your constituency. What happened? You were not feeling well. Oh, I didn't see you then. Welcome. Shows that I care for all of you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Lubasenshi. The Honorable Member for Lubasenshi. Since the Honorable Member is not around, the question elapses. We go to the next question. The Honorable Member for Lupososhi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 318.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Mr. Emmanuel Musonda is asking the Minister of Health, one, why the construction of Bangowulu Regional Hospital in Lupososhi Parliamentary Constituency in Lupososhi has stalled. B, when the construction works will resume. And C, what the cost of the remaining works is or are? Response, Madam Speaker. Allow me, before I respond to the question asked by Mr. Emmanuel Musonda, Member of Parliament for Pososhi parliamentary constituents, to inform the House that according to the reclassified health service delivery structures, we do not have regional hospitals. Instead, we have the following: 1, health post; 2, health center, either rural health center or urban health center; first level hospital, which is district hospital; second level hospital, which is a general hospital; third level hospital, which is a teaching hospital; fourth level hospital, which is specialized. Therefore, the hospital that is being constructed in Lupososhi is a general hospital. The question asked by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Lupososhi parliamentary constituents is in 3 parts, and our response is as follows. A, Madam Speaker, the construction of Bangweulu General Hospital in Lupososhi parliamentary constituency in Lupososhi stalled due to lack of funding. B, Madam Speaker, construction of the works on the project will resume after the contract price adjustment negotiations are concluded. C, Madam Speaker, the costs of the remaining works will be determined after the contract price adjustment negotiations are concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Lupososhi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, with the celebrated debt restructuring, can you assure this House that the funds will be available to complete Lupososhi General Hospital? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On a lighter note, I hope the MP can first of all congratulate us for clearing the mess which they left. But, Madam Speaker, on a more serious note, that was on a lighter note, if I may respond.
The use of the word mess, maybe you can replace it with the milder word.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order, order. Please allow the Honorable Minister of Health to answer the question.
I'll replace the word mess.
Order, order.
To mismanagement. So let me now just answer the question, Madam Speaker. First of all, we commend His Excellency and the Minister of Finance and the team for a good job well done. For a change, we can all say we are proud Zambians. Secondly, to say that now that we have this debt rescheduled, which others on your left thought it was an impossibility, we want to assure the nation through the question that the restructuring simply means that we will have some resources that can now be put towards sector ministries such as Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. And what this means, therefore, is that we will be able to complete a good number of unfinished infrastructure that again was left half done, even after the money was given for the same. And hopefully, in the selection, looking at issues of equity, we hope that Pososhi will be among those that will be favored. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Health. The honorable members on my left are saying she was a chairperson of elections. Honorable members, politics is a moving target. You can also move to the other side if you want. And vice versa. Notes of motion. Order. Order. Notes of motion. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to propose that this House urges government to amend the Local Government Act number 2 of 2019 to allow for the payment of allowances to members of the Ward Development Committee. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker, it's seconded. Thank you.
Order. Order. Seconded by the Honorable Member for Nyimba. The question is that this House urges the government to facilitate the amendment of the Local Government Act in order to introduce payment of allowances to some members of the ward development committees. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Allow me, first of all, Madam Speaker, to thank you once again for the opportunity to raise this motion, and at the same time, Madam Speaker, for authorizing that this matter be presented before this August House. Madam Speaker, there's a short history to the motion that we are discussing today, and the short history, Madam Speaker, is that previously we used to have what we used to call the resident development committees. These resident development committees, Madam Speaker, they used to help the local authority in all the districts of Zambia in terms of identifying challenges in the community, and then these challenges would be forwarded to the area councillor, and these challenges from the area councillor would go to the council. In 2019, Madam Speaker, this parliament decided to formalize this structure. Instead of having the Resident Development Committee, this August House in 2019, Madam Speaker, came up with a law called the Local Government Amended Act number 2 of 2019. What the law did, Madam Speaker, was to formalize this grouping called the Ward Development Committee. Because previously, Madam Speaker, there was no law which provided for the WDCs. It was basically up to the goodwill of each local authority to assemble people in the community to identify projects and submit them to the local authority. After 2019, Madam Speaker, the mandate of the Ward Development Committee was defined. So today, Madam Speaker, if you go to the Local Government Act of 2019, it defines about 6 or 7 functions of the WDCs. And to simplify this conversation, Madam Speaker, for those that are tuned in, I'm sure this is not our conversation, it's a conversation for the public. The Ward Development Committee, Madam Speaker, is where everything starts. If Kamfinsa constituency today wants to submit projects to the provincial administration for approval under CDF, Madam Speaker, the first stage is for the Ward Development Committee to meet. Simply put, Madam Speaker, if we are going to give out empowerment funds to the people in the constituency, the Ward Development Committee first has to agree. Madam Speaker, if we are going to build a school in any constituency in Zambia, there must be a record that the Ward Development Committee met and they picked the following priorities. What am I trying to say, Madam Speaker? The first point of decentralization is actually the Ward Development Committee. Now, if the Ward Development Committee, Madam Speaker, is the first point of decentralization, these are the substructures, Madam Speaker, that are supporting the work of members of Parliament. These are substructures, Madam Speaker, that are determining which projects have been submitted from the community and which ones are the priorities. If that is the basis, Madam Speaker, for recognizing the role of the Ward Development Committee, it therefore follows, Madam Speaker, that we must provide an incentive for them. An incentive, Madam Speaker, that allows them to quickly convene, identify the projects, meet with the community as we do other work as members of parliament, submit them to the CDF committee, and consequently, Madam Speaker, to the local authority for onward submission to the provincial admin. If that is the roadmap, if that is what we've agreed for ourselves, Madam Speaker, it is important that we provide an incentive for them to be able to do the work that they are doing. Currently, Madam Speaker, there's a restriction in the law. The current restriction, Madam Speaker, in the law is that members of the Ward Development Committee cannot be paid a sitting allowance. That is what is in the law. So today, as I stand here, Madam Speaker, I'm appealing to government, because currently a backbencher like myself cannot introduce an allowance to be paid, because the Constitution of Zambia, Madam Speaker, is very clear. Any charge on the consolidated fund, any proposal that can be brought on a charge on the consolidated fund can only come from government. So our mandate today, the basis for my motion today, Madam Speaker, is to ask government to come up with an amendment to the law to allow for that restriction which is in the law. If you go to paragraph 4, Madam Speaker, of the schedule under the Local Government Act, there's a restriction. So Honorable Minister for Local Government today cannot wake up and just instruct local authorities to start paying members of the Ward Development Committee, because the law will not allow him. So today, Madam Speaker, I recognize, and I'm sure all of us do recognize, that members of the Ward Development Committee need an incentive for them to do their work professionally, an incentive for them not to attend to other assignments, but focus on the primary objective of providing minutes, identifying the priorities of our community, and bringing those proposals to the respective substructures for approval. So today, Madam Speaker, I bring this conversation to Parliament with only two objectives. Number one, to reward people that are supporting the work of government. Government, Madam Speaker, is at three levels. There's local authority, and below the local authority, Madam Speaker, are the substructures called the Ward Development Committee. And I do hope, Madam Speaker, that considering that all of us have got members of the Ward Development Committee that are supporting the work that we are doing, today we can appeal to the conscience of each one of us that why should we pay a sitting allowance to those who are working at the CDF committee, yet the people that are giving them the proposals, yet the people that have to scrutinize all the applicants for skills and training and bursary are not getting anything. We must create a fair society, a society, Madam Speaker, that provides an incentive. I'm not asking that a salary be introduced. I'm simply saying, Madam Speaker, that if the CDF committee are drawing a sitting allowance, it simply means that even the people that are transmitting the list of project proposals, who have to meet to make sure that indeed a Peter Chilufya from a certain constituency is actually a resident in that area and is vulnerable, Madam Speaker, such a grouping deserves an incentive. So today, Madam Speaker, this for me is not a long conversation. It is a conversation about achieving decentralization. And how do we achieve decentralization, Madam Speaker? By allowing the substructures who are called the Ward Development Committee to be motivated to perform their duties. The duties, Madam Speaker, that I'm sure we all recognize are very genuine. Genuine, noble, and necessary. So, Madam Speaker, I want to, as I conclude, I want to request government the mandate to bring an amendment to the Local Government Act rests with government. I want to appeal to government that there's a restriction in the law, paragraph 4 of the schedule of the Local Government Act, number 2 of 2019, a law which was designed and approved by this August House, provides a restriction. Can we remove that restriction, Madam Speaker, so that we can motivate our people to perform their duties diligently? Even as we sit here, Madam Speaker, debating this conversation, let us be mindful that there are people that have supported our work for the last 2 years, and they will continue supporting our work to identify the priorities in our constituency. So, Madam Speaker, this is the short conversation about the need to amend the Local Government Act to provide an incentive for some members of the Ward Development Committee. The people of Kamfinsa have submitted on behalf of all the Ward Development Committees that are doing a very diligent job. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Nyimba an opportunity to second the motion, ably moved by Honorable Kangombe Christopher of Kamfinsa constituency. Madam Speaker, from onset, let me say this is a very progressive motion which each and every member of Parliament, Madam Speaker, who appreciate the works the WCs are doing to second, to support. Madam Speaker, every program government introduces, it needs support of us members of Parliament. If you look at this story, Madam Speaker, of the enhanced CDF money, Madam Speaker, this project needs a lot of effort, support from us as members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, the owners of this CDF are the people in their respective wards, respective sections, Madam Speaker, of our constituents. Madam Speaker, this government came up with a very good and very progressive idea of enforcing the works of what WCs. Madam Speaker, because we've come up with this idea, we need to support it. These people are working in various in various wards, Madam Speaker. They need, for us to achieve what we need, for UPND government to achieve what they want to achieve, we need to support these people. Madam Speaker, you may wish to, others may wish to know why am I supporting this. Madam Speaker, the best thing is that there are constituencies, Madam Speaker, like Munirunga constituency, Madam Speaker, Nyimba constituency, Madam Speaker, with a constituency with a radius distance, Madam Speaker, of 40 kilometers. And if you look at this, Madam Speaker, these people have to travel from such distances to go and convene and have a meeting. Madam Speaker, this is a ward which is bigger than Lusaka district. It's a single ward. And people have to bring information to a chairman at a certain stage. We give them nothing. They have to board a bus, they have to board motorbikes, they have to hire. Surely, do you expect them to do a good job? This will bring problems in our quest to achieve the increased CDF project, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you look at the resources we have at the district level, at the constituency level, then we don't want to help out, we don't want to pay out the owners of the money. This is not a salary, Madam Speaker. This is something when people meet, at least to encourage them to get onto a motorbike, buy fuel in that motorbike, and ride where the meeting is. At the moment, people have to sacrifice, use their own resources. Madam Speaker, there are very few members of Parliament who are here today who tell me that when their ward WCs were sitting, they've never asked them for transport or food, unless those ward executive members, Madam Speaker, don't sit. It's the chairman who calls or writes a report without including other section of the constituents of the ward. So my prayer to the Minister of Local Government, through you, Madam Speaker, is to see to it that let's see that we reduce the gap of misunderstanding between the ward WCs and the constituency executive, because what is happening now, in my language, Madam Speaker, we say the other party is doing mwano, meaning that the others, they don't want to work because they think the other part are benefiting, others are not benefiting. Madam Speaker, people who are sitting at the district level, at the constituency level, maybe with the distances, Madam Speaker, around 15, 20 kilometers, are paid transport refund, are paid, I mean, those who come after 50, beyond 50 kilometers are paid transport refund. Those within the CBD areas who are sitting at the constituency, at the development committee, are paid some allowances. Now, what of those who move longer distances? What is it that we want to do? My prayer, Madam Speaker, to the UPND executive is that your project, the project of Zambian people, if you want to succeed, and people should appreciate at the end of the tenure of UPND, let's see to it that people in Kaputa, Madam Speaker, are rewarded. The wards in Kaputa, Madam Speaker, are looked after. Failure to that, Madam Speaker, we are doing ourselves a disservice. Madam Speaker, let me not waste much of your time, and members of this August House, because I know that 90% of the members here, Madam Speaker, are in agreement with this motion. Unless only, Madam Speaker, members who've got extra income from what we get, all of us. Because, Madam Speaker, all of us here contribute and fund the movements of those people. Unless you are somewhere I wouldn't like to mention, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with those few words, I beg to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For purposes of managing time, I wouldn't know who is for and against according to the list. So I just want to know, is the motion opposed? Is the motion opposed?
Madam Speaker, ultimately, the motion is opposed due to ill timing.
Thank you very much. So I've taken note. And can I have a list? I've got a list of the debaters for those who are opposing. Can I have a list for 3 debaters for those who are in support? I'm doing this just for purposes of managing time. So we start with the Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I thank you very much for recognizing me to contribute to the motion which is on the floor of the House. At the outset, I'd like to state it clearly that I do not support the motion. Not because it's a bad idea. I would have supported the motion if it was timely, at a time when things were okay, because it's a nice to have. And usually, anything that is nice to have comes at the end of sorting out problems. Madam Speaker, it's not too long ago that the Minister of Finance and National Planning came to this House to come and give us an update on the milestones we have achieved in terms of reconstructing this economy. And we heard for ourselves the kind of situation in which we were, in as far as the finances for the economy are concerned. And therefore, we cannot afford to have that kind of nice to have situation at this moment. Madam Speaker, we first need to cite the statutes for us to understand the subject we are debating here. The Ward Development Committee were actually established through an act of parliament, the Local Government Act number 2 of 2019. And section 36 of that act, 1, establishes the Ward Development Committee. Madam Speaker, allow me to quote from the Act in terms of the establishment of this particular organ. Section 36(1). There is established in each ward a ward development committee in the area of a local authority consisting of the following part-time members appointed by the town clerk or council secretary. End of quote. I'm particularly interested in the phrase part-time members. Part-time is what they are. They are part-time members. They are not full-time employees of either the council or the government. Why are they part-time? They are playing a role to complement government's effort by representing the communities within which they live in disseminating the aspirations of the community of what their government would do for them. This is one way of devolving the planning of a country's development to the lowest organs. And of course, it's part of the decentralization process, which other debaters will speak about in depth, because for me, I'm anchoring my debate on the financial aspects and who these cadres, so to speak, are in this role. What role do they play? Usually, they have meetings. Because they are domiciled within those communities of the ward, they know the aspirations of the people and they solicit. They are a link between the council, secretariat, and the community. And therefore, they sit in a meeting where they get submissions from the community and present them to the council. Of course, the councillor, the area councillor, is involved in these meetings because he is the one who officially sits in the council to present issues and has representation on the CDF committee, for instance. Therefore, it is a simple role. Yes, difficult as you may put it, warranting some resources, it is really a nice thing to have. It is not crucial that these people should be paid. One thing that you need to know is, not too long ago, the same colleagues brought a motion here on the floor of the House asking that we should increase the salaries for councillors. Now, before we could even think of what we would do with the salaries for councillors, here we are, boom, we have ward development committees being floated here to be paid. Think about it, honorable members. And you see, we need to approach this thing with reality. How many wards does this country have? They're in thousands. Even if we were to pay them a 10 kwacha each, it is still a very big amount. There are so many wards in this country. Some constituencies have got over 20 wards, 23, 24 wards. Now, 24 wards, come to think about it, a ward development committee has got how many members? About 10. Now, 10 multiplied by 24 wards, for argument's sake, 25 wards in a constituency. That's already 250 people. 250 people, that is only one constituency. If you multiply that by 156 constituencies, how many people would need to be paid, even if we were to pay them at the minimum? I'm just bringing in figures here. So before we think of anything, we must first of all, in Lunda we have a proverb which says, I'll literally mention it and then I'll translate, which says, asambilanga kutala kuunga, henoka ndawa adikile. Meaning, you must first of all check on the level of your mealie meal in the bucket before you put water on the fire to cook unshim. So here we are grappling with this big debt. Our mealie meal is still this little. We want to put a big bucket like this on the fire to cook unshima. Is that unshima really going to be reasonable? That would be very unreasonable of us. So, honorable members, I just wanted to express this thing and give a realistic look at it. It's not necessary for us to start thinking of these nice to have things. In future, yes, it is welcome. When the economy is doing well, why not support these our people who are doing noble cause? We would do that. As a decent government, yes, our Ward Development Committee members out there, we think about you and we really respect the work you are doing. But as of now, we cannot afford to say we put it in the law and start paying them an allowance. That we cannot afford. Even a parent in a house, a responsible parent in a house, when a child is looking for a PlayStation, when we have not yet even paid the basic needs of the house, like soap, food, and the like, wouldn't you go that route? And then you go and buy a PlayStation 5. It doesn't make sense. So realistically, this is something that we can't afford, and that's the reason to why, Madam Speaker, I cannot support it. Of course, painfully, to say that this is what we would have wanted to be like. It's a nice to have. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to add my voice on behalf of the people of Chama North on this very, very important motion. First and foremost, I want to thank the mover of this motion, Honorable Kangombe, and also the seconder, Honorable Zulu. I think, Madam Speaker, this is a non-controversial motion. And therefore, I think it is important for us in this August House, I think, to make progressive steps in ensuring that the decentralization policy is effectively implemented. Madam Speaker, decentralization is very, very key for the speedy development of this country, especially in rural areas which have received lopsided development since independence. And I think the issue of decentralization, if it has to be effective, indeed, I support this motion that there is a need that we must motivate these gallant men and women, WDCs, who are doing a very great job for this great country. Madam Speaker, decentralization has not started now. Decentralization started a long time ago. I remember those days when I was in secondary school, at Chama Secondary School. I remember those days we had even the Ministry of Decentralization, which Dr. Kenneth Kaunda had created. So that is the importance of decentralization. Madam Speaker, as the other debaters have stated, rural areas are very, very vast. And our colleagues in urban areas, compared to rural constituencies, they are totally different. For these constituencies which are in urban areas, it is very easy for the WDC to move from one point to another and engage the people on the ground. But in rural areas, the constituencies, the wards, Madam Speaker, are too vast that these colleagues cannot manage actually to go from one point to another. That's why it is important that I think we must amend the Local Government Act and ensure that these WDCs actually they are motivated to work even very, very hard. Because if these people boycott, which means the CDF committee cannot even meet, and if they boycott to do their work, not even the CDF committee can be able to sit down and approve these projects. So that is the importance of WDCs. They are not asking for a lot of money, Madam Speaker. They are not asking for a lot of money. And what we must realize, democracy, Madam Speaker, is a costly undertaking. That's what we must realize. Democracy is never cheap. So it is important that if we are going to be looking at cost aspect, then I think we are missing it as a country. Madam Speaker, if you read the guidelines, yes, it's true that WDCs are party-time. I think there is a difference between party-time and a volunteer. A volunteer is a person who is not paid, but a party-time worker is supposed to be paid. We have part-time doctors who are being paid. We have part-time workers working for companies who are being paid. So therefore, I don't think we can say because they are part-time, now these people cannot be given an allowance. I do not think that is correct. Madam Speaker, apart from giving an allowance to WDCs, I strongly feel that we need even to go even a mile ahead. I think we need even to empower them with bicycles. How much does a bicycle cost? A motorbike, how much does a motorbike cost to ensure that our colleagues who are doing this noble job are able to move from one point to another and ensure that the information which is coming to the Constituency Development Committee is good information. If you look at the performance of most of these WDCs, Madam Speaker, I mean, members of parliament here, let's not bury our heads in the sand and say that all is well. We go around our constituencies. We find that even WDCs do not even have the capacity to identify projects. You see, we are saying that these people should identify projects. You find that they don't even have the capacity to rank according to priority projects. Now, if you cannot build capacity in the WDCs, I think it will be very, very extremely very difficult for us, for this decentralization policy actually to bear fruits. Madam Speaker, we are not asking for further resources from the central government. What we are saying is that, for example, the administrative cost is 5%, where CDF committee members, including our colleagues from local authority, are paid. So we are saying that instead of maybe allocating only 5%, we can say, for example, let's adjust to 7% within that 28 million kwacha, so that these WDCs are able to function effectively. We are not saying that we must bring in more resources. No. I am very confident that in the next few years, you'll find that we may not even have a lot of projects to implement. And that's why I want to thank the former president, the late Dr. Frederick Chirua, who had actually introduced the Constituency Development Fund. I think they knew that once we do this, I think we are going to make sure that our places, our areas are going to be developed. So really, we are not asking much. We are merely proposing that let's adjust that 5%, possibly to 7%, 8%. I do not think that is the people are asking for too much. So indeed, it is a very sad development that our colleagues are against this particular motion. I want to appeal again to our colleagues on the right-hand side that please let's rethink about this issue. Because believe me, if you shoot down this particular motion, we are going to demotivate. I'm sure WDCs in Mazabuka Central there will be very much demotivated, not only Mazabuka Central, but the whole country in these respective constituencies. So it is my prayer that let our colleagues think about this matter and ensure that at least something must be done to motivate WDCs. Madam Speaker, coming from a trade union background, I feel that we are not doing justice to our WDCs. As I earlier on said, party time, when we say party time, we are not saying that these people cannot be paid anything. So please, let's differentiate between a part-time worker and also a volunteer. So with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I strongly support the adoption of this particular motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Mwinilunga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand here to oppose the motion, and I also want to say that the previous speaker has misled the nation, that there is no capacity in ward development committees. The capacity is inbuilt. One, there are civil servants on those committees, and that is capacity. Two, capacity is built all the time into the ward development committees. I think that was misleading. Two, the issue of decentralization. I think it's important to realize that the current decentralization agenda is very, very different from that which you saw, you heard, that was undertaken under UNEP. That was a mixture of concentration and what you may call decentralization. That was mixed with party organs into administration of local government. This one is different. This one is devolution of functions from the central government to the local authorities, giving them authority, power, and resources to implement decisions, projects that they feel would be able to enhance their standard of living at that level. So again, you misled this House and you misled the nation. Madam Speaker, the Ward Development Committees are doing a lot of work. That we agree. And we, as members of parliament, we feel that if the situation, if our economic circumstances were better, we would have debated that we appropriate some resources for their remunerations. But as it is, I believe that this country is still observing austerity measures. And I think that under those circumstances, I think it is important to take things step by step before you make decisions of that nature. Madam Speaker, voluntary work in terms of project implementation is everywhere in the world, in Africa. There are committees in Uganda, in Rwanda, that are providing these services on voluntary basis. You have village committees which are working on the same basis with the ward development committees. But like Honorable Kambita said, I think what he said is very, very important. You need to look at the resources that you have before you embark on the expenditures. I think there is no need to approve an expenditure which you cannot fund. So, as UPND, we want to be cautious as we look at these things. But perhaps what I would advise as members of parliament is that let's provide some resources within the 5% of admin costs, issues like paper and pens for the ward development committees so that they are able to operate at that level. But for the issue of allowances, I think let's give government time to look at these issues, clear the issues of austerity measures. I think we'll get to that time when we'll be able to look at the people that are at the front line of project implementation in our constituencies. Madam Speaker, I wish to.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Petaoke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petaoke this opportunity to add their voice to this non-controversial motion.
Order, Honorable Member for Petaoke. Point of order is being raised. Honorable Member for Nyimba, what's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, thank you. The point of order is going to the Honorable Samakai from Indunga. He just quoted that there is such a similar situation happening in Uganda at the section level where people work voluntarily. And has forgotten, Madam Speaker, to tell the nation that people at the WDC level, the chairman is paid and is on the salary. The government even provides a motorbike for that person. Madam Speaker, is therefore the Honorable Samaka in order to mislead the nation and this House? Madam Speaker, my point of order is coming from 65A. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you had gone on a benchmarking tour with Honorable Samakai, so I don't know who heard what, and we were not there. So, unfortunately, we are debating the situation in Zambia today. So let's concentrate on the Zambian situation. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, once again, thank you for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to add their voice to this non-controversial motion. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for allowing this motion to be brought here so that we can debate. And I want to thank the mover, Honorable Christopher Kangombe, the Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, and the seconder, Nkunziaku Mawa, Honorable Menyani Zuru. Madam Speaker, onset, I support this motion, and why I support this motion, here are the facts. Maybe let me make it clear maybe to some people who doesn't understand, because like the first debater, he clearly said to say they don't want to road shed the Minister of Finance to give him a lot of work to start looking for where to get this money. Yes. So, Madam Speaker, in 1985,
Honorable Member for Petauke, honorable members are not clear when you say load shedding the Minister of Finance. We are not clear. What do you mean?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I mean that giving him a lot of work whereby you won't have where to get money, overloading him.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 1995, under the MMD government, I'm sure Honorable Minister of Water can bear with me because he was under the same government and he remember very well. In 1995, under the President, may his soul rest in peace, Dr. Frederick Titus Chiluba introduced the Splash Fund. 1995. 1995. Yes, 1995. Yes.
It appears the honorable
This is
member,
my research, and this is my research, and everyone is free to research so that he can come and debate. But in 1995, to set the record straight, that was the president by that time. 1995, that was the president, and under him, that's when, according to my research, because I'm a researcher, that's when this CDF was introduced under Splash Fund. Because the president by then, when he moves out, he used to carry money called Splash Fund. And the members of parliament in here, in 1995, they complained to say, the president, when you're moving, you move with cash, but us members of parliament, we don't move with the cash. That's why...
There is a point of order. Honorable Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of order in line with the Standing Order number 65, where the debater must be factual, is required to be factual. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Petauke Central has alleged that I was part of the Chiluba government. without providing facts, Madam Speaker. My history in government is very clear that in 2001, Madam Speaker, I was an elected official, I was a councillor. Madam Speaker, and the government which was there then was under the President Mwanawasa, and I was never a councillor on MMD. Madam Speaker, I was Deputy Mayor of Lusaka, I was Mayor of Lusaka. Those are positions I was elected to in government. Now, is the Member of Parliament for Petoka Central, in order to allege that I was a government official in the government of President Chiluba, and is he also in order, Madam Speaker, to be dragging me in his debates that I was a member of MMD government as a government official under President Chiluba? Is he in order, Madam Speaker? I seek your ruling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Petauke, please do not drag the Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation in your debate. I don't know whether it's love that you have for him, but please don't drag him in your debate, and also be factual in your debate. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your guidance, and I've heard, I'm sure it's love, and I want water. Once you provide water to Petauke, I'll be quiet. Madam Speaker, when this 30,000 was introduced, they increased it the way technology is being changing every time. This is how this CDF has been changing every time. It was increased from 30,000, it was increased to 750,000 kwacha. From 750 kwacha, it was increased to 1.5 million kwacha. From 1.5 million kwacha, it was increased to 1.6 million kwacha. From 1.6 million kwacha, it was increased to 25.7 million kwacha. And from this, it was also increased to this year to 28.3 million kwacha, Madam Speaker. So you can see how things have been changing. And the WDCs, Madam Speaker, they are the ones who initiate the project, whatever now. And now they have got, because of this increment from the first one, 30,000, to this 28,000, it shows that a lot of work now from the central government has been transferred now, decentralized to the constituency, to the community, down to the people, which means the resources now are trickling down, Madam Speaker. Even the leadership, it's supposed to trickle down. The CDF committee, they are being paid, where a lot of members, they're even on allowances, other allowances, members there in CDF, they are even on salaries, monthly, they get monthly. From government, they are drawing from local government. From the council, you research. I'm a researcher, I've told you. Ask the DPO.
Order,
the DPO
honorable members, can we leave the honorable member for Petauke to debate? If we have any, may you please take your seat? If we have any rebuttals, we can do them in our debates. Let's allow him to debate. He said that he has researched, so let's allow him to enjoy that information that he has acquired. May you proceed?
Point of order.
There is another point of order from the Honorable Minister for Water Development and Sanitation. What's the point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I rise in accordance to Standing Order number 65, where the debater, who calls himself a researcher, is required to be factual. Madam Speaker, I don't know if you're also listening to what I'm hearing from him. In his tabulation, he said that the CDF was at one point increased to 1.5. I don't know if there was any point where CDF allocation was increased to 1.5. I think the last time, the last figures that we know was that the Constituency Development Fund was that it moved from about 1.4 to 1.6 million kwacha per year per constituency. Now, is this researcher, the member of parliament for Petauke Central, in order to mislead this house, to mislead himself, and to mislead the nation at large, that there was a time when CDF was at 1.5 million kwacha? I seek your reading, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think from his research, that is what he found. But in the event that the Honorable Minister has got information to counter, he can rebut that information in his debate. May the Honorable Member continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your well guidance. I'm sure the people of Mnali, they are always sending dramatists in here, Madam Speaker, which we sympathize with them.
The Honorable Member, stick to your debate, please.
Yeah, we sympathize with them, but I'm sure next time they will control things.
Stick to your debate, Honorable Member. Stick to the motion.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, and this money, Madam Speaker, which we are saying, the CDF committee, Madam Speaker, they are drawing allowances from the 5%, the 5% of 28.3 million, Madam Speaker, which is 1.415 million, Madam Speaker, which is a lot of money. Because it has been increased, unless if they tell me to say the CDF is still at 1.6, that's when we can even say no, we don't want the WDC who are initiating the projects. We need to appreciate them. And then we should also learn as leaders that we should be also trickling down. We shouldn't do things to suit ourselves. Whereby because we sit in the WDCs, or whereby we sit in the CDF committee, then we are entitled to an allowance. But the WDCs, who are initiators, they shouldn't be what? Let's be fair, guys, because even those people are watching. They're watching from your constituencies. Because when you go back to your constituency, you yourself, when you sit under CDF committee, you draw an allowance. But again, here at Parliament, you draw an allowance again. So let's be fair also to the WDCs. Let's trickle down the money. This money, it's for everyone. Madam Speaker, they said that in WDC, they are civil servants. Madam Speaker, if I'm corrected, in WDCs, there's only one civil servant who is the secretary, Madam Speaker. And I don't know whatever those points they were getting, other debaters, I'm sure I will enroll them under my research classes, Madam Speaker, so that they should be also moving together with me, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker,
Thank
with those few...
Thank you. Wind up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With those few words, I really support this motion, Madam Speaker, so that we can be trickling down each and every resources. Let everyone, let's not use other people for free because us leaders we are enjoying. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking at time. It's already 16:13. So I'll only call one honorable member to debate, and then the minister will come through to respond, and then we wind up. The honorable member for Chitambo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me a chance to add my voice on the motion today. Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the mover of the motion for the able manner in which he has moved the motion, and also the seconder of the motion for giving us the structure to which we are now debating. Madam Speaker, it is a well-known fact that all members of parliament seated in here do support government programs.
And in so doing, we ensure that development is taken to the people. And I've always liked the way the president has been coming out, because he wants development to go closer to the people. And he has always said it is the people to decide for themselves on what they want done in particular constituencies and wards. Madam Speaker, I am in receipt of a document called a memo written from the office of the Minister of Local Government, instructing all councils.
Order, Honorable Member, that document you are trying to quote and refer to, have you laid it on the table?
I haven't, Madam Speaker, but it is public knowledge, Madam Speaker. It was distributed to all of us in here.
Well, I've not seen it myself. I don't know. You should have brought it, because I, as the person guiding the proceedings, I need to know what you are referring to. So let's not refer to a document that is I'm not aware of.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To put things to speed is that we've got workers or government civil servants who are on a salary at provincial, local government level. We are told from our CDF, from the 5%, to be paying them 18,000 kwacha per constituency. And Madam Speaker, these are people who get paid from the government coffers, and we are being instructed to pay them money. I'm wondering who should get money between the people who are doing work at the provincial local government administration or the people in the wards. Because, Madam Speaker, if I compare the two, I discover that our people in the wards are more poorer than the people at provincial level, who at least are on a salary. And Madam Speaker, looking at the way this committee sits, in our guidelines we provided for that they will only sit 4 times in a year. Meaning that even if allowances were to be paid, it would be very minimal. It won't even disturb anything from the CDF money. And Madam Speaker, the move of the motion made it very clear that we are not asking for any other additional monies to the money that we are having. We've got a 5% that we give out to the councils for administration purposes. That is the money we are saying, let's give a little bit to our people who are doing a very good job at the constituency level. At the ward level, sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can you imagine? In fact, I must apologize because I was part of the team that was doing the guidelines. I think we overlooked it. We only provide for a ream of paper, Madam Speaker, that should be given to this very important organ of governance. And Madam Speaker, if you look at a ream of paper, it is only about 250 kwacha. Surely, these are people who are doing a great job for this country. Even the president salutes these people every day. So, Madam Speaker, all I'm trying to say is we are not doing it the right way. For me, I would rather 18,000 kwacha, which is going to the provincial local government administration, be taken to the wards. Because these people, Madam Speaker, they are poor and they are doing us a good service. Civil servants at their level, at the provincial level, they get paid salaries, Madam Speaker. Why don't we help the poor? In fact, the people who would have scored is the government of the UPND. Because they are the ones who are going to salute to say they've introduced a good salary. And Madam Speaker, Chitambo is a rural constituency. If we are paying them in 50 kwachas, Madam Speaker, it will go a long way. And they will really appreciate the president for that. So
Minister of Local Government, sir, I applaud with you. Help the president on this one, so that the president can be praised by the people. And Madam Speaker, we are told that we shall be making a saving in here by the Minister of Finance yesterday from the restructured debt. So I know that from whatever saving we can be making, if we are to add some more, if we wanted to add, those people can be accommodated, Madam Speaker. And when I was doing my mathematics here, if I look at all the constituencies and we get out the monies that we are giving to the provincial local government administration, it's a lot of money as compared to what these people would even ask for. So, Madam Speaker, it is not too much to ask for these noble people something for them to be motivated and to work hard. Madam Speaker, let me leave a bit of time for others to debate. I thank you very much.
Thank you for yielding some time, but 16:20 is our time, and we are running behind. So I'll call upon the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development to respond.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me thank the honorable colleague, Honorable Kangombe, for exercising his right to bring a private member's motion. And in his private member's motion, he's really asking us in government to move towards amendment of the Local Government Act in order to accommodate a payment of allowances. In his own motion wording, he says to some members of the ward development committees. Just the word some, Madam Speaker, spoils the soup because it's discriminatory. If you were to ask who are these some among the 10, how do you arrive at the some among the 10? So I find this motion, well intended, as very defective because it sits right at the center of discriminating members who were chosen under an act or legal framework which is very definitive. And according to the Local Government Act number 2 of 2019, it does provide for the integrated local system to give effective decentralization of functions, responsibilities, and service to the local levels of government. Further, the Act is also definitive on Part 4, Section 36 and 39 of the Local Government Act provides for establishment and composition of these WDCs, which were before Residence Development Committees. And it is extremely clear in the same law, which was enacted under their watch, under their eye, that in the 4th schedule, which he quoted himself, and under Section 36.8.4, and it stipulates clearly that the members of the WDCs shall carry out on a voluntary basis and shall not be entitled to any payment of allowances or fees. This is what he wants to adjust. The question that may beg an answer is that why did they couch it in this manner at the time when governance was under their watch? There was a reason and nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, nothing has changed apart from us now trying to make good of what went bad. The Minister of Finance 2 days ago came here to give us a synopsis of the actions, not prayer like Honorable Mutachalo was saying. We pray that. Prayer without action is nothing. The action that has been delivered by the protracted negotiation of the debt restructuring, which has choked this country, Madam Speaker, leaving no fiscal space to look at even social programs that affect the people whose aspirations and interests we are looking after. The same honorable colleague of mine, the MP for Kamfinsa, brought a motion which was a little bit lighter, Madam Speaker, where he was agitating that we improve the conditions of service for councillors. There are only 1,833 plus or minus councillors in this country. Or was it Mr. Mpundo? I beg your pardon. I think it was his colleague, but the same WhatsApp group anyway. They brought this idea that we must remunerate the councillors. We told them, and this is what we said, Madam
Order,
Speaker.
Honorable Member for Lunte. I'm looking at time, and you've just come in. I'm trying to wind up this debate. People have debated, and the Honorable Minister is delivering a policy statement from the ministry. So let us allow him to do that without any interruptions, so that we wind up. You may proceed, Honorable Minister.
In response, Madam, to the quest to improve the conditions of services for honorable councillors, it was this minister who said, this government under Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is the first government that has operationalized the Emoluments Commission, which was going to look into the plight of all workers, including councillors. We are also very clear that much as we desire for the councillors to be remunerated better, the fiscal space was not there, and at an appropriate time, when we fix things, we are going to give a consideration through the Emoluments Commission. Again, Madam, under this particular motion, it is President Hakainde Hichilema who walked the talk of actual decentralization by devolution of power and decision-making from the center, where he said there were big thieves, to the district and sub-district structures to allow the people in the ward to make development plans for themselves. So who are the beneficiaries of this decentralization, which is coupled with fiscal decentralization, of moving money to the magnitude of 28.3 million kwacha per constituency, given to these wards for their own benefits? They are benefiting now. As I'm speaking to you, Madam, they decide on their own. But I'm surprised today to learn from the MP for Mr. Mutachalo to say they have no capacity. Let me tell you, most of the people who sit on these WDCs are probably more educated than some of us here. They have capacity. I'm surprised to learn from Mr. Remember Mutale that these are poor people. I want to say to you, these people were elected based on their campaign to belong to the ward and based on the capacity and promise that they made to the people, the very people who voted for them, in order to look after their interests and aspirations. How come today they can deem to be non-capacity and poor? It is a misdirected argument from both MPs. Madam, I think the best way to put it really is that it is a good thing, to borrow from Honorable Member of Parliament for Zambezi East. It is a good thing, but you can only cut the size of the suit to the size of the cloth. You can't make a suit the size of my body. I'm 56 in size. If I have a 42 size cloth, it is impossible. It can't. The idea here is that let us give us a chance. And the colleagues who had their own chance and failed to seize and utilize the chance must watch us do our thing. To first recover and get the economy going in order to accommodate the very things that they're agitating for. The very things that they're agitating for, to find money to pay the WDC members who are 10 in number. It should work after we have put everything correct here. It is haphazard to simply say, we agree. Because what the Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Kangombe, is requesting for really has got high potential of bringing distortion to the economy. That's what they did. They gave out contracts, because it's in my, allow me to use an example before I sit down and we vote if we have to. Under my watch in my ministry, Madam, I've said this before, they awarded contracts worth 13 billion kwacha in roads when they only had 1.2 billion. Where were they going to get the difference? The situation is on all fours here now. We are being asked to accommodate, to pay 18,533 WDC members. From which budget line? Even if we change the law because it's our duty, where is the budget line, the revenue stream going to come with? Because it's not accommodated for. And even when they went out to campaign, they knew very well that this was a voluntary undertaking, Madam Speaker. So not until such a time that we lift the economy, that they damage themselves, that we manage to get space in this fiscal area, the fiscus, what the MP is asking for is like banging an open door with a head on the frame. We agree, it's a good idea. The door is wide open. But the finances cannot permit for us to undertake such. I think that if we insist that this is what you want to do, I will have no choice but to think that this is a populist motion. And anything populist, madam, is short-lived. That's how come this government of PF, in the history of this country, is the government that has served the shortest time. We don't want to be like that ourselves. We do not want to be like that ourselves. Because Mr. Hichilema has indicated that we must be methodical.
Honorable, order. Let's stick to the motion. Let's not. We are one people. They had their time.
In our oneness, madam, in our oneness, I would like our friends who are moving such motions that have potential for distortion to get the contagiousness of our methodical ways of doing things. And not to work as a wash and wear or sell by debt as a government. We don't want to be a sell by debt government. We want to sit here so that when we look back, we can actually point at deliverables to say, we delivered this. We cannot start a program that will fail to achieve. In short, we want to pay the WDCs, we want to pay the councillors, we want to pay everybody who's doing work for the government, but only when we have the capacity to do it. At the moment, we do not have. Allow us to go into the debt restructuring for the private lenders also and come back to this house and report what they failed to do themselves. And then we'll all be laughing to the bank. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not taking any points of order at this time. Can we have the honorable member for Kamfinsa to wind up debate? We are running behind time.
Madam Speaker, allow me once again to thank you most sincerely for having permitted this public conversation about how best we can motivate members of the Ward Development Committee. I will resist the temptation to respond to the Honorable Minister of Local Government. I will, however, put it on record, Madam Speaker, that members of the Ward Development Committee, according to the regulations, are only supposed to meet 4 times in a year. So technically speaking, Madam Speaker, the current financial space does not require us to bring any further additional money into the space. There is already money that is available. What is restricting this position, Madam Speaker, are basically the regulations in the law. The law has provided a restriction in the Local Government Act such that even today, if that restriction wasn't there, Madam Speaker, I am very certain that government would actually implement this as latest as tomorrow. So, Madam Speaker, the Ward Development Committee are part of us today, and they will be part of us tomorrow. This is not about us who are seated here. It is about units of government that should help us implement programs of government. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you most sincerely, and I do hope that those whose conscience I've spoken to will support this idea of giving an incentive to members of the Ward Development Committee through the current fiscal space, which in my view, Madam Speaker, allows for government to implement what I'm proposing. And as I conclude, Madam Speaker, I hope that government from today will relook at their current position. I am very certain that they have spoken from a point of ignorance. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Although the use of the word ignorance, find another word to use. It's too strong.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw the word ignorance and I replace the word with lack of information. I thank you.
Order. Order, honorable members, we are going to make a decision. I put a question. The question is, that this House urges the government to facilitate the amendment of the Local Government Act in order to introduce payment of allowances to some members of the ward development committees. As many as of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the noes have it. The question is negatived. A division is called. Ring the bells.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. A division has been called on a private member's motion that has been moved by Kamfinsa, Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, titled Facilitate Amendment of the Local Government Act, that this House urges the government to facilitate the amendment of the Local Government Act in order to introduce payment of allowances to some members of ward development committees, and so members are expected to vote electronically.
And this motion is seconded by Nyimba Member of Parliament, Honorable Minyan. And once the bells rang, there will be voting where members of Parliament will subjected to a vote to decide how the motion will be concluded. So at the moment the bells are ringing and members of Parliament are getting back to the chamber to participate in the voting. And this is a motion that was moved by Kamfinsa Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, facilitate amendment of the Local Government Act. And earlier on we did see the House considering questions for oral answer. The first one was Understanding Order 76, which was posed by Mr. Emmanuel Jebanda, Petauke Central Member of Parliament. This was question 314. This question was directed to the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. The member wanted to find out whether government is aware that in the last 2 weeks there has been a critical shortage of water in the following areas in Petauke Central Parliamentary Constituency. Government, this is Anusa, Showgrounds, Tasala, Garden Compound, Chimate, Kamfinzi, Fairview, and Chibisa Tenov. And we'll be able to share with you details of the response that the Minister gave. And let's also inform our viewers out there, Matimba, on what is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. We do have 3 more motions.
And yes, and the second private member's motion will be moved by Petauke Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Jebanda. This is on the issue lifetime diplomatic passports to former state office holders, that this House urges the government to issue lifetime diplomatic passports to former vice presidents, ministers and members of Parliament in recognition of the service they rendered to the nation.
The other one will be moved by Mr. Samakai. That's Mr. Newton Samakai Mwinilonga.
Close the bank,
for now, across
clear the lobbies, and lock the doors. The House will vote electronically using the Bosch multimedia units. Please log in to the system. Have we all successfully logged in? I see that we are. When you hear the paging sound, the vote has opened, and the voting screen is displayed on your microphone unit. Select the key present. Select the key present before you vote. Have we all selected present? On top of the right side of the screen, you will see the words cast your vote. Select one of the options, yes, no, or abstain. Once you have selected one of the options, you will see the words, your vote has been cast, on the right side of the screen. When you hear the second paging sound, the vote will close after 1 minute. So 1 minute is done. We proceed. You have just voted. The results are the results. Do I have? You have just voted. The abstention 0, yes 36, noes 65. The noes have it. The motion is in the negative. Order. As the time is 16:40, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Thank you so much for still staying with us on Parliament Television. Business has been suspended for 20 minutes for that health break, and at the time business was suspended, the House has just concluded considering the motion which was moved by Mr. Christopher Kangombe, who is a Kamfinsa Member of Parliament. This motion was entitled Facilitates Amendment of the Local Government Act, urging this House, urging government to facilitate amendment of the Local Government Act in order to introduce payment of allowances to some members of ward development committees. And this motion was seconded by Mr. Minyan Zulu, who is Nyimba Member of Parliament. And when the question was put, a division was called, and according to the vote, the ayes were 36 and the noes 65. And according to the voting, it means that the motion has been negatived.
Yes, President, earlier on when the House resumed at 14:30 hours, there was an announcement by Madam Speaker. She appointed the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of members of the Portfolio Committee on Defense, Home Affairs and Security Services and staff from the Parliament of Zimbabwe. And so on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker received the distinguished guests and warmly welcomed them to the National Assembly.
We do have two more reports to be considered by the House. The first one, the second motion will be moved by Mr. Emmanuel Jebanda, who is Petauke Central Member of Parliament, and the other one is by Mr. Samakai Newton, who is Member of Parliament, urging the House to adopt a report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs. And the detail of the motion that will be moved by Mr. Jebanda Matima.
This is on the issue lifetime diplomatic passport to former state office holders, that this House urges the government to issue lifetime diplomatic passports to former vice presidents, ministers and members of parliament in recognition of the service they render to the nation. And the report, which is the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs, this will be moved by Mwenilunga Member of Parliament, like Fosen said. This is Mwenilunga Member of Parliament will urge the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs on the review of the implementation of the integrated development plans in local authorities for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023.
For now, we'll take a break and I'll be right back and just to let you in on what will have been considered on the floor of the House. Keep watching Parliament Television.